Like many others, we've been talking a lot about Trump's tariffs lately, and I wanted to put the lens on how this will affect Apple and particularly their most successful product, the iPhone. Unlike many other countries, China was not exempted from Trump's on-again, off-again tariffs, and goods imported from China to the U.S. currently face an immense 145% tariff. Unfortunately, Apple produces more than 80% of its products in China, and analysts predict the cost of iPhones will be going up by hundreds of dollars and potentially much more than that. This initially caused Apple to lose over $750 billion in market capitalization and, at least temporarily, its position as the most valuable publicly traded company in the world. And this isn't just an issue for iPhone users. Even investors who don't own Apple stock directly will be exposed to huge losses given that the $3 trillion company is a big part of major stock indexes. So what's Apple going to do? Well, Tim Cook has been engaged in diversifying where Apple produces its products for a while now, particularly ramping up in India, but also Vietnam and other countries. And these do currently have lower tariff levels than China. But allegedly, Trump is trying to get companies to bring their manufacturing back to the U.S. for reasons that, as is typical with Trump, make very little sense economically. And this really wouldn't provide much advantage for consumers anyway. Go back in history and you may remember then President Obama asking then Apple CEO Steve Jobs about making iPhones in the U.S., to which Jobs responded bluntly and correctly, those jobs are not coming back. Wedbush Securities, who said iPhone prices could raise as high as $3,500, also estimated that it would cost Apple $30 billion over 3 years just to move 10% of its supply chain to the U.S., which is obviously not going to fix things. Others have pointed out, given the cost of manufacturing in the U.S., that a U.S.-made iPhone might end up costing more than it would under the most tariffs in any case, and some tariffs would still be unavoidable because there's just no way to source all the iPhone parts domestically, and the U.S. simply doesn't have enough specifically skilled workers, say like tooling engineers, as they do in China. So as a short-term move, Apple seems to be stockpiling current generation iPhones to try to avoid tariffs, but given that they sell over 200 million iPhones each year, that's a stopgap measure at best. So with onshoring and stockpiling unable to substantially defray these costs, what's left for Apple to do? Well, thankfully, Trump has hinted that he might be willing to provide relief for specific companies, saying that, I quote, some companies, through no fault of their own, they happen to be in an industry that is more affected by these things than others. You have to be able to show a little flexibility, and I'm able to do that, end quote. So if we remember back to Trump's first term and his Tim Apple interactions, we can also remember that the Apple CEO has shown he can find ways to curry favor with the White House. So, as with many of Trump's harmful policies, we'll all just have to hope somebody sensible can talk him out of his bad ideas. I'm the other Mac. Stay safe out there.